Hello, my name's Roger Cookler, and I've been a woodworker for over 50 years. And in this podcast, I am trying to encourage you out there who have some skills, or at least desire, to become a professional woodworker, either full-time or part-time. Share your skills with your community. There's fewer and fewer furniture makers, cabinet makers, just general woodworkers, and we need your help. So, welcome to podcast number 6, Financing Your Small Business. This is really happening. You have your business name, you have your domain name, you got your bank account last week, filed for your tax ID. You're really putting this thing together. Well done. Good for you. So, how are we going to pay for this new business? That's what we're going to talk about today. So do you get a business loan? Do you borrow from the kids' college fund? Maybe use credit cards? Or just start with what you have? Let's take a look at each one of these in a little more detail. And before we take a real deep dive into this, I want to remind everyone that the real answer to this question, who finances this? That's your customers. Your customers should be financing your business. And it's a very simple equation. The money that you bring in minus the money that you spend is equal to your profits. And as long as you're bringing in more money than you're spending, everything is in the positive. If you're spending more money than you're bringing in, then you're in the negatives, and that's not so good. But how do we just start out, even before we have our first customer? A lot of people will use savings, a nest egg. Maybe you have the idea that this is something you want to do in 6 months or a year, so you stay with your day job and you just save some of the extra money, put yourself on a budget, and start stockpiling some money before you leave. That's exactly what I did. It works very well. It requires you to be disciplined, which is a good thing, and you're not paying any interest rate or owing anyone any money. What about getting a bank loan? Well, that can be a little iffy. Banks just don't lend money to Joe Smith with Joe's cabinet shop. They're going to want to see a formal business plan, and that in itself is daunting. What do I mean by a formal business plan? Well, that's actually what we're working on right now. There's 12 episodes in what I'll call the introduction side of working at woodworking that covers all the points that you would have in a business plan. But they're going to want to see that typed up, double space, 12-point Times New Roman with a really nice cover. If you get the loan, you're probably going to be paying a lot higher interest rate, and you now work for the bank. So you could consider that, maybe talk to your banker. They might want to try to work some type of home equity line of credit, where if you have some equity in your home, in other words, it's worth more than what you owe on it, they will loan you money based on that. The problem there is if things go upside down, you're putting your home at risk. And we'll talk a little bit more about risk in a few minutes. What about credit cards? That's easy and very, very dangerous. It's so easy to justify a new tool purchase. It's so easy to justify buying materials and putting it on a credit card. It's so easy just to spend more than what you really should. And it's so easy not to pay the complete balance off every month. And this is the little catch. You know, you buy a table saw for $1,500 and the bill comes due next month and the minimum payment is, I'm making numbers up, $73. Well, running a little tight this week, I'll just pay the $73. And the interest is added on. And every month this happens. And that table saw that you paid $1,500 for is now $3,000, $3,500. And it can get absolutely crazy. And credit cards don't come with low interest rates. They may have a low introductory rate, but after 3 months or 6 months, it's popping up into really scary numbers. 15, 20, 25%. So then you start surfing cards. You take the balance on your current card and you open up a new credit card and transfer the balance. It's called surfing. Yes, I speak from experience. And so you go from 18% to 8% for 3 months, and then it goes to 12%, and then it goes to 6%, and this cycle just keeps continuing. It's very easy to waste a lot of time just managing credit cards. And, sorry is the person who has more than one credit card that they're transferring balances between, and they're surfing this card this month and surfing that card next month, and I want to buy this, and I'll put it on this card because I get more points. Here's the dirty little secret about credit cards. You're not going to fund your child's college education with your cash back. The real dangerous part about credit cards is they're hard. They're hard to pay off. They're hard to get out of the habit of using a credit card. It's hard to change how you do business and how you spend with a credit card. Please don't go down that road. I'm literally talking from experience. It is so easy. And you might get a store card, Lowe's, Menards, something like that. Now you're a big shot because you're a professional. And you get a free mug and a free hard hat and a free cozy when you open up the professional charge card account. And man, you miss one payment, $35 late fee. Any possible savings you think you were making just got eaten up. So, I don't know. I'm old school. I've been burned. I've learned my lesson. I don't play with credit cards. And it is very hard to say no. That card is so easy to pull out. It's so easy to put down. It's so easy to type those numbers from the back of the card into the computer screen. I mean, this is serious stuff. If you're in credit card debt right now and you're thinking about starting a business, I would very strongly urge you to get out of debt, get your own house in order before you decide to move on. This can get really, really serious. I mean, they've lost their families. Families have been destroyed, with credit card debt. Do you remember 2008? Yeah, the tide went out and we saw who was skinny dipping, and it wasn't pretty. So what about borrowing money from a friend or maybe a family member? It might not be as bad as using credit cards, but Thanksgiving dinner is going to taste very different when you're sitting across the table from somebody you owe money to. It's going to really taste bad if you haven't kept up with your promise of monthly payments to that person. It gets incredibly awkward. So actually, maybe credit cards is not so bad. No. Again, I would think that family members would be the very last place you would ask for a loan. A friend that you ask for a loan probably won't be a friend down the road, because these things can go south. If a family member would like to gift you something, that would be most graciously accepted. Thank you for this gift. A gift is not a loan. It's money that is just given. Check with your tax professional for rules and regulations. What about bootstrapping your business? This is the American way. Just get out there and grab those bootstraps and pull hard. This still works if you're wearing work boots. If you're wearing flip-flops, yeah, not so much. Now, I'm not really talking about footwear here. Work boots means that you are out there working. If you need an extra $300 or $400 this month, you're delivering pizza after work. I mean, you're doing something to generate that cash. If you're wearing flip-flops, well, yeah, I'm a little short this month. I'll make up for it next month. And that's not a positive look for anyone. One of the great things about bootstrapping, you know where your money is going. You are counting every nickel and dime. I heard on the radio today that one of the number one reasons small businesses fail is a lack of accounting. They don't know what they're spending. They don't know what they're bringing in. So have a good financial plan. Start building a nest egg, a rainy day fund. And I think the fancy term in business school is retained earnings, or RE. It's really a good idea. Just from the very start, say that I'm going to devote 3%, 5%, 10% of my revenue, that's the money you're bringing in, into retained earnings. So that comes off the top before you buy a new tool or pay your bills. That just goes straight into a savings account. And the nice thing about retained earnings is that it dispels desperation. If you are desperate for some cash, you get desperate for a job, you make bad deals, and bad deals will lead to ruin. But if you have a nice little nest egg sitting there, you don't have to take this job. This job doesn't really feel right. I'm not so sure about the customers. This could be trouble down the road, and you can just move right on. You might find some jobs that, don't really want to do, but let's tack 10, 20, 30% on to the bid and see what happens. Sometimes you get those jobs. A little bit of extra money for you. And in my experience, the customers are wonderfully happy that they were able to find someone to do the job to their satisfaction. So now here is let's say a non-traditional form of funding for your business. This wasn't around 50 years ago, maybe even 20 years ago. Crowdfunding. Not an expert, never done it. I've known some people who have. And you go to a crowdfund website, something like GoFundMe, and you create a campaign. I want to raise $5,000 to outfit my shop with a brand new CNC machine, and for every $10 that you pledge to me, I will give you a real hearty thank you. For every $100 you pledge to me, I will make you a neat little 3D cut item, and so on and so forth. There's different levels of gifts that you are giving for different levels of funding. And this is not a bad idea. There are people out there who have money. And one of the wonderful things about having money, as I'm told, is that when you have a lot of it, one of the most fun things you can do with money is to give it away. I mean, philanthropy, giving money away. So someone's cruising a GoFundMe site, they see your post, visit your website, learn a little bit more about you, and they might decide to, drop $1,000. Let's see what the guy can do with that. And that is absolutely wonderful. Patreon is another type of outside funding source you might be able to use. Typically, we see this more with like YouTube videos or podcast creators, but I think it certainly could also possibly work for just Joe's Cabinet Shop starting to create some buzz, create some cash flow. Give me $100, I'll make you a cutting board, that type of thing. So check that out. Speaking of Patreon, this week I was actually successful in creating a Patreon site for working at Woodworking. So if anyone would like to support me, I would be most grateful. You can get more information by going to workingatwoodworking.com, and there's a link right there on the webpage. So what about an angel investor? You've probably heard the term. I've listened to several podcasts, and I know one prominent podcaster got his start with an angel investor. This was someone who, again, had money and enjoyed giving money away or investing in another human being, and I think it would be great to have one. I don't know how to find them. I kind of have an idea that they find you, but I've pretty much exhausted my knowledge of angel investors. Think about it. Maybe you know someone who knows more about this, and it could be a viable option. So let's talk just a moment here about how you handle money. Money is a very personal thing. What we do with it, how we get it, how we save it, how we spend it. Very, very personal. And usually our money habits are formed by our parents. So if your parents were very conservative with money, chances are you may have that bend too. If your parents were not very good at handling money, well, it's not surprising that you might not be very good at that either. So I guess what I'm trying to say is if your financial house is in disorder, you might want to fix that before you launch into something brand new with the potential of spending even more money unwisely and digging a bigger hole for yourself. One of the key characteristics of our money habits is how we evaluate risk. There's a kind of a risk-reward scale, and some people are very, very risk adverse, and some people don't mind taking a little bit of risk if they are reasonably sure that it is going to pay off in the end. Now, don't confuse this with gambling, because gambling is in essence a chance, a roll of the dice, literally, where risk is making an educated evaluation of a situation with a predictable outcome. So it's different for everyone. Some people go for the super aggressive stocks in the stock market. Other people are, they're too risk adverse to even have any money in the stock market, and all of their money is stashed under their mattress. So different people are different, but your risk tolerance, and I'll say your debt tolerance, this is very, very personal. Myself, I do not like debt. I do not like owing anybody anything, and I sleep very well at night. So I hope you found this podcast helpful. We're talking about money. Everybody handles it, thinks about it a little differently. These are my 2 cents, and it's worth exactly what you're paying. You can use savings, maybe even build up that savings account while you still have your day job. Bank loans, although I don't think that's a terribly good idea. Credit cards, I do not think is a good idea. Family and friends, would not be my first choice. Bootstrap, that's probably my favorite choice right there. If you have a few tools, go out and get a job that you can accomplish with the tools that you have. Don't quit your day job. Do this part-time. As you get more jobs, more money, you can increase your tools and kind of go from there. We talked about crowdfunding. It's an option these days. And the elusive angel investor. If you can find them, I think it could be an awesome experience. So remember that ultimately It's your customers that are going to finance your business. And if you take care of your customers, they're going to take care of you. And as they say on the radio, the following is not intended to be personal financial advice. You should consult a professional before making any financial or investment decisions. And speaking of customers, I have someone pulling into the driveway in an SUV and something sticking out the window. I better go see how I can serve them. Thanks for listening. Happy woodworking.